This is the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, and you are listening to Potsy and Tino on the Potsy and Tino Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the Potsy Fans Network brings to you its Tag Team Champions of the World.
We are the world.
We are the world.
We are the world.
The Potsy and Tino Show. That's right. He's Tino Gray. I'm Rob Potsy Potchak. Our theme song, as always, is brought to you by Adam's House Cats, called The Wrestling Song. That's available on iTunes for 99 cents. And you heard a voice there that has been off TV for a little while by the name of Cody Rhodes, but I thought that it was extra special to have an AEW lead-in tonight, Tino, after a pay-per-view of epic proportions.
A++.
Yeah, you know, Dave Meltzer probably gave the entire pay-per-view a 6-star review, because that's you know, only Kenny Omega gets 6-star matches, but the whole pay-per-view delivered, right? So we want to start with a somber moment on the show tonight. You guys, as wrestling fans, probably remember the name Daphne. And while she was not necessarily a friend of the show or anything, she did bring entertainment to us in the pro wrestling world, and more importantly, to the Potsy and Tino Show, just by being part of WCW and TNA back in the day. So we're gonna give the 10-second silence for her. Tino, make those bugs stop chirping.
Well, I'm outside. I can't make them stop chirping. They're chirping for Daphne.
Tell you what, I'm just gonna mute you.
So we'll do the 10 seconds.
All right.
Starting
10 seconds on the clock.
That's it.
I unmuted you. So yeah, very tragic moment, and Tino, I think it's something that we should go ahead and talk about a little bit. I see we got Chris Barrett in the audience already. Will we see him to NWO? We'll get to that. We'll get to that later, Chris. You know, obviously we talk about us first, and then we talk about pro wrestling. But you know, obviously with the death in the pro wrestling family, we want to make sure that we bring that up first. Tino, you said that you were paying attention to this as it was kind of going down. So what was the situation when it came to Daphne?
I really didn't know anything was wrong with Daphne because I follow Mick Foley on Twitter, and he was like, you know, prayers to Daphne. If anybody can reach out to Daphne, she just sent out a disturbing Instagram video, and he's like, I can't get a hold of her. He said my calls are going straight to voicemail, and a lot of other wrestlers were saying that their calls were going to voicemail too, and so I went because I followed her on Instagram too. I couldn't find the video they were talking about. Found it on YouTube. I think somebody put it on YouTube, and it was she's crying. She's very depressed. She's saying she can't take it anymore. She can't do it anymore. And you know, and it sounded like, and then when she started saying, if you guys know where I am, talking about, because she just moved to this place where I am, you guys can just come and just anything you want, you can just take it. And usually, with a psych, well, that's common knowledge too. But I've worked with people with mental illness before. When they start giving things away, that's one of the signs that they're going away. And there was one point she was rocking back and forth, and she all of a sudden she's like, whew, you know, she started like, okay, like she was catching her breath to build up her nerve, and she said, you know, stop being a chicken, stop being. And as she leaned back, she was messing with a blanket, and then her dog kept coming in. She goes, I don't want to hurt my dog. And she had this blanket and she had it up against her chest. And one moment when she rocked back, you could see that she had a gun. And then she was like, and she's breathing hard. And then she's like, I don't know if I should stop the live stream or keep going. I'm like, and this whole time she's filming this thing from her phone. It was so surreal. She's filming this thing on her phone, and her phone is ringing and buzzing and ringing and buzzing. And you can see her hitting the button, sending people to voicemail. And then it kind of went. I think the camera fell over, and you heard her say, "Remember that my brain goes to Boston," which is one of the Boston, I guess, where they do the CTE. And then the next day,
the Chris Nowitzki Foundation or whatever it's called now.
So the next day they found her, and she had, they just said they found her passed away, deceased. And the day out on TMZ, they said she did die from a gunshot wound to the chest. Self-inflicted.
So Chris Barrett, I see that. I'm not going to post it. We try to remain as honest and truthful as possible. And Tino was just doing what we do. And when we hear something like that goes on, we try to figure out as much information about it as possible. So I'm going to say that no, Tino did not watch that kind of movie. But it was pretty close, I'm sure. So, it's interesting to me too, because if you've watched Heels the past couple of weeks, they've dealt with the ramifications of people around you when it comes to suicide. And that was 2 episodes ago, so that's over a week now. So statute of limitations on that has expired, so I don't mind giving the spoiler there. I don't need you to post it. It's sad, but the fact that people would repost something like that is wrong. I think it was actually still on her Instagram, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So Instagram had not taken it down themselves at this point.
We discussed it, and it's just terrible. And I even said to you yesterday, I'm like, dude, I hope you know that if anything like that, a lot of people feel like they don't have at that point anybody to reach out to, because it's just everything's just collapsing in on them. So I try to tell people that I love, and I told you yesterday, if you ever feel depressed or you feel that way, please call me. I don't care what time of the day it is, because it's a temporary solution. It's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And I know it's easier said that way, but a lot of you just need to reach out. And I think that's the main point. A lot of people they don't want to reach out. They want to try to handle things themselves, or they get they don't want to bother people. They get so far, depressed. They feel like they're bothering. Like, no, you're not. You need to reach out and talk to someone if you're having, those kind of thoughts, or even if you're depressed, or you just need to, you don't hold that all in. And I know, like I said, it's easier said than done for some people, but I just don't ever want anybody. Please come to me if you need to talk to anybody or anything.
And it's easy for people to blame TNA or blame the WWE because she wasn't being used by either of these major companies at this point. So she may not have been collecting a regular paycheck. She may not have. She may have thought that things were too rough and just needed to stop. And you and I were really talking about mental illness and how when based on what I've read, what I've heard, and what people have said about it, is that when someone is suffering from mental illness in this dire of a situation, oftentimes it's like they're not even the same person.
Yes.
So they aren't in the right frame of mind, both chemically or just emotionally, and because of that, they're not acting the way that they normally do. In this situation, I would assume that multiple concussions and things like that, very well, especially if she's talking about sending her brain to that place in Boston that Chris Nowitzki started. It makes you realize that she knows there was something wrong, but we can't tell whether or not it was physical pain, if it was mental pain, if it was emotional pain. We don't know, and unfortunately, because she didn't talk to anybody at the end, nobody's really going to know, right? They just know that she's not here anymore. And then you and I, Tino, we get pretty personal on this show from time to time. So I mean, I'll bring up something here. I talk about the fact that I had quadruple bypass surgery, and the physical scarring from that. So the actual physical scar that I have for the rest of my life, and it's not becoming. It's not a fun to look at scar. It kind of looks like just a big pink area in the middle of my chest. And one of the things that you get asked shortly before and shortly after that major surgery is the doctors start asking you if you're feeling depressed from it. And they ask you questions about it all the time. Like every time I see my heart doctor at this point, I get asked, "Are you feeling depressed? How are you feeling emotionally and everything else?" And I've recently lost two very close people in my life. Like I do have those moments of down emotion and everything else. However, I tend to never look at that as like an option down the road or anything. And you and I talking about it yesterday, like even if I say that I'm depressed, it's not anything that a good joke isn't going to make me feel better. But there are people in my life right now that we think are in severe depression, and we're really starting to worry about them because of stories like Daphne, or the fact that just lost my friend Chris, just lost my friend Justin. Like these are very, very hard moments in life, and if you don't have a support system around you, you can't cope with it sometimes.
Yeah.
And luckily, I do have a really good support system around me. Obviously, I've got my family, I've got you. I was talking to Shavar, one of our buddies, just yesterday, and like Shavar is one of the people that actually did visit me while I was in the hospital. So like him and I share a bond that like not a lot of people share that bond with me at this point in my life. So like just like with you, every time I get off the phone with you, it's "I love you, brother," and tell the family I love them and everything. And it's because Mark Henry always says, give people their flowers while they're still alive.
Yeah.
And it's a very strong statement. And I think that it's something that people really ought to do more often. And because of that, that's why I've become a person that will actually speak like that at this point and say, "I love you," because there were times in my life where like those words wouldn't come out, like, no, I can't say that. I'm too manly. I'm too macho. Whatever the case might be.
Always like close friends. I see you, or if I'm leaving, I'll give you a hug before I leave, because I don't know if I'll see you again.
Unless I play Madden against you.
Yeah, shut. Then you can leave.
So all right. So we get our thoughts and prayers go out to Daphne's family, friends, fans around the world that really felt like she was a part of their lives. And it's just a really sad moment. And like with all the loss I've had recently in my personal life, I just feel even more emotion for those people at this point. So but how about we start talking about some stuff that like we like to talk about?
What's up with you?
So unfortunately not a great transition, but we're gonna transist anyway. So Tino, what's been going on, man?
Dude, last week was an interesting week. Baby Seamus turned 12 Thursday. Yeah, my son turned 12 Thursday, and so he started middle school. He started 6th grade. So his thought process was, well, because Haley, my daughter, got a phone when she started middle school, he was determined. It was already in the stars. It was in writing that he was getting one. I'm like, no. So before I got to tell you a quick funny story. So back, probably a couple years ago, when New York had that, I guess it was a big hurricane when all the power went down and everything. Well, Nicole's grandmother still lives on Long Island, and she's got the house, and she's got in New York, they have basements. So she has a basement apartment that she was renting out. So when the power went out, her phone, everything went out. And she didn't have a cell phone. So the only way we could finally get in contact with her is luckily her tenant in the basement had a cell phone and was cool and let her use the phone to call us. And so Nicole's like, no, we're not doing that again. So we put her grandmother on my plan and we got like a little 99, little flip phone thing. So with 5G coming out, we got the email saying, hey, they're going to
upgrade your phones.
Upgrade the phone. So they sent us a new flip phone for her and we got to get it to her. She's in New York. But when it came in, I said, Nicole, watch this. I said, Matthew, come here. I said, your birthday's coming up and, we're going to get you a phone, so we'll give you something like this. It's your first phone. It's a flip phone. Rob, the look on his face, it was like he was pissed, confused, sad, all at the same time, but still trying to be grateful. Still like, oh, okay. Dude, Nicole wouldn't look up. She's on her phone. I can see the tears coming because she's trying not to laugh. And he's like, I said, so this is what I'm still straight faced because I'm that asshole. So this is the one we're getting, okay? Okay. And he just walked to his room.
And you know what he's thinking the whole time is, what the
bastard.
fuck is that?
Yeah.
What the fuck? That's not a phone.
That's not a phone. So I was going to get him the iPhone SE, the little phone. It's like it came out in 2020, and it was only like $400. I figured, hey, I'll just buy it flat out. That way you don't have to make payments on it. So it would have come out after taxes and everything like $450. So I went last Tuesday because his birthday was Thursday. I went last Tuesday to pick up the phone to get it at the AT&T store, and they didn't have any, and they wouldn't have any for like 2 or 3 weeks. I'm like, well, what? I said, well, how about an iPhone 11? Because in my mind, I'm not getting this full a 12. No, all we have are the 12s. I'm like, fuck. So I went over to the Mini. The Mini was going to be the cheapest one. She said, but we're having a sale. So the iPhone SE, the older phone, it's like about pretty much 2 years old by now, was $400.
Right.
The iPhone 12, the Mini, is normally $700, but they had a sale because the 13s are coming out, half off. I got that bitch for $350.
Wow.
I'm like, deal, done.
Did I tell you the story about my new phone?
How you slammed it in the door and all that stuff?
So I did tell you that. So I called Assurion to try to get the phone coverage to get them to replace the phone. Somehow Verizon turned off my phone coverage.
What?
So I don't have insurance on my phone now either. So my sister actually was like, hey, there's only like a 5-minute wait if you call them right now. And I was like, I was still in bed and I was like, no, I'm not doing it yet, kind of thing. But yeah, so like I call Assurion and they start a claim and everything for it. And I'm like, why the hell are you starting a claim? I'm not going to spend, I'm not going to give you guys full price for another phone. Like you're telling me it's not covered. So yeah, so now I got to deal with Verizon who fucked that up. So what else is going on with you?
And so we had his birthday. Nicole's texting me. I'm sorry. So we had his birthday, and he gave him the phone. He's all happy. I went out of town to Hickory Saturday, played a gig. Came back yesterday. So
he was supposed to come over for the pay-per-view.
Yes. So this is what happened there. So when I left Saturday, because Nicole had her friend came from out of town and was staying with us. We were going to cook out Sunday, grill. We were going to grill shabab, like little shish kebabs and corn. We were going to do it early. I was going to do that, shower, come to your house. Well, I get home Sunday. We went to Costco to get the stuff for the thing. So Matthew's birthday is the 26th, and my father-in-law's is like the 22nd. But he was out of town because he's traveling nurse. He was in Buffalo. So he's back. And so when I left Saturday, we were going to do his birthday celebration Tuesday.
Right.
Well, he got Matthew a new basketball goal for the front yard. And he's like, well, I want to bring it over. I'm like, well, can it wait till Tuesday? No, he wanted to bring it over Sunday. So Nicole's like, well, we're grilling out. So do you just want to come dinner and then we'll do your birthday things Sunday? He said, yes. This all happened while I was in Hickory.
Right.
So I get back Sunday. Yes, Chris Barrett, a hoop. Basketball, it's a goal with the hoop and all that.
Yes,
I
and he
get
put
back
it in the
Monday.
grass yard, not at the driveway.
Yeah. So and we're in Costco. Goes, oh, didn't I tell you Dad's coming over? I'm like, no. That's why I called Rob, because you know my father-in-law. I'm like, Rob, I'm not gonna make
You
it.
did not call Rob.
Hmm?
You did not call Rob.
I did call you.
No, I called you.
Oh, well, I told you, okay, this is the thing. I'm not gonna make it. So did you end up going to Ruckus to watch the pay-per-view?
I did.
So and then he didn't finish because he's here now finishing up the basketball hoop. So my original plan was I was going to come over at 4 and we were going to watch the pay-per-view and then do the show. Then my mom called. Like I said, I'm like, we'll just do the show. So in the meantime, I'm like, dude, I want to see this show. I want to see the show. So I ended up going to Fight TV and paying for it. Glad I did. I stayed up watching it. It was awesome.
You could have used my access.
Yeah. I didn't think about it. And so awesome show. And then today, he's done. So I'm like, dude, he's out there now still doing the finishing touches. I'm like, I got a show. So we're here now. What'd you do? What's up with you?
So, I'm putting the finishing touches on the new Junior High Horrors book, Karate Kai. I remember how I told you I wrote a Star Wars parody like about a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I just the art never really never came about or whatever. So I've got a new artist attached to it. So he's super excited about working on it. He basically feels like it's like drawing a Mad Magazine comic. So yeah. So it's pretty fun. Obviously, when we solicit it and everything else, I'll be able to talk more about it. But so that's already written. So he's drawing it all now. So I'm taking a look at all the artwork and everything for it as it comes in. Chris Barrett, I don't take unsolicited story ideas. Just because, unfortunately, I don't ever want to be told that I'm stealing an idea from somebody. So it's already a parody, so I'm stealing enough ideas. But
if I give you an idea, only thing I ask for is you draw me in one of them. You ain't give me no money. Just put me in it. That's all I can say. I was in a comic book.
So that's going on. Obviously, I just talked about the phone situation where I don't have insurance on my phone at this point.
Did you go to the movies today? You were talking about
no. Well, so I didn't go to the movies. You know what I did instead, and it's pretty funny because originally I was going to go see Shang-Chi today because I still haven't seen it yet. As Chris Barrett gave it, it's not a story idea; it's a suggestion. Well,
before you finish that, I do want to say, before you go, you and I need to go check out. So the Regal in Beaver Creek by my house, apparently they've got what's called 4D something.
Yeah,
where you sit and all that. It's in the theater up here, so we need to go check out a movie there. The seats move in the air, and I'm like, yeah. We can do that.
We can do that.
Cool.
Because I do want to do that. You know me, I love 3D movies as it is. So if it's 4D, it's got the wind and it's got the water that hits you in the face.
Move like when you're in the car. Yeah, we got to check that out because
So funny story about that. My buddy went to go see A Quiet Place 2 in that theater, and apparently the seats would start moving and stuff. So you knew when the monster was coming because the seats were moving already.
That's cool.
So he was like kind of sucked for that movie because I knew every time the monster was coming. But so Chris Barrett, I talk about so here's Chris Barrett's question. Why not bring in the classic Universal monsters? I think that's been done enough. And I like toying around specifically with and trust me, I've seen the Universal Dracula, the Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein. I've seen all that stuff. It's been done so much, and most of it's actually public domain at this point. So I could just use those characters for real if I wanted to. It's just I don't know. I feel like the stories that I've come up with have kind of taken on a life of their own and everything else as they mold. I really haven't thought about using them. Initially, it's funny that you say that though, because initially the idea was going to be that they would be the teachers in the school, would be like Frankenstein and
Oh, that would have been cool.
And it was a cool idea, but then it made more sense, but make them foreign exchange. So I've got another idea for foreign exchange students, because I've already done exchange students or new kids in class, and they only show up for one book, so obviously they must be exchange students, right? But it's like I was saying, the reason why I didn't go that route is because it made so much more sense to have the Bruce Campbell Ash character as like the shop teacher, because he's already missing the hand and everything else, like. And the old guy from Saw being the media teacher, I always thought was funny because he's always giving people videotapes, so like it all just kind of played out to where like I just never had to use those characters. So it's not something that I leave out of the realm of possibility. I mean, it's always possible that I could do like a Halloween special that shows like a previous class of the school or whatever, and go back to like the 50s or something, and it ends up being those characters. But I have too much fun with what I've already got going, so so I mean, but I mean, it's something that could always happen. Let's see what else.
Oh, you want to say why didn't you go see Shawn-C? You about to say, and I'll stop you.
I just felt like being super lazy today, so it's sad too, because I looked down at my watch and it was like 4:00 in the afternoon already, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, I'm not doing anything, and like I had a 3-day weekend, and my 3-day weekend's over already. Like now, granted, I saw a 4-hour pay-per-view yesterday. I watched a new episode of Heels. I watched, I watched SmackDown on Friday night. So I mean, like, I did a lot in terms of watching stuff.
Yeah, I need to go back and watch the new episode of Heels.
But today, I started the day by watching the new Hugh Jackman movie Reminiscence, because it's on HBO Max. Mm-hmm. And it's all about how like he plays a character it's a post-war world where like Miami is flooded to the point where like it's almost like Venice, where they take boats everywhere in Miami now. And I thought that the visuals for it were really cool, but he's a guy that lets people visually remember things. So like he puts them into this tank, and then that person sees their memories happening again. Mm-hmm. So it's all about nostalgia and everything. The movie itself, like it takes this really weird turn where like this woman finds him, and he has like a 2-month relationship with her or whatever, and then she just randomly disappears, and he just keeps trying to find her. And then there's also like this mob story element or something in it, and it was just really weird. So I got done that, and I was like, I don't really feel like going out. I don't really feel like looking for TV shows to watch right now. So I decided to watch the first 3 Scream movies today.
Oh. So
I watched Scream 1, 2, and 3 because I couldn't remember like who the killers were in each of them. Right. And Tino, first, I want to point out that the first Scream was 1997. Okay.
It's been that long.
So next year will be 25 years since the first Scream came out. And Neve Campbell was so young in that first one.
They all were.
By the time they get to the third one, she looks like an adult, right? But she looks like she's 16 years old in the first one.
Far from it.
What's that? Yeah, she probably wasn't far from it. But it amazed me because like you see all of these actors, like David Arquette obviously was in it, and I just watched that wrestling documentary about him called "You Can't Kill David Arquette." Yeah. And he talks about how people still remember him as Deputy Dewey and don't want to give him jobs as an actor anymore because he still looks like a goofball, right?
Wasn't Matthew Lillard in that too?
Matthew Lillard was in the first one.
Green.
Ulrich is in the first one. Jamie Kennedy is in all 3 of them. And it's so weird when you see Jamie Kennedy because you're looking at him like, who the fuck is that?
Yep.
And then all of a sudden it just hits you. It's like, holy shit, that's Jamie Kennedy.
Yep.
Like the guy that's in like one of the worst movies ever made, Malibu's Most Wanted. You know,
dude, that's one of my favorites. Come on now, don't be hating, don't be hating. Traffic. There's a Ford Maverick.
So
rad.
So I decided to watch all of those movies, and I'll tell you, like Liev Schreiber is in the second one and third one. You know, obviously everybody looks at the cameo moment of the first one where it's Drew Barrymore that dies really quickly. Michelle Gellar dies really quickly in the second one.
But that's Skeet Ulrich. To see him in that movie, and I don't know if you watched Riverdale when he was like the first season when he was a Jughead's dad. He looks totally different.
So,
totally.
and it's probably plastic surgery and everything, but it's weird because so when I watched Scream, obviously the first two were written by Kevin Williamson, the guy that created Dawson's Creek.
Yeah.
All three were directed by Wes Craven, so a master of horror. And when I'm watching it, the first one reminds me so much of the first Nightmare on Elm Street because people forget that Johnny Depp was in the first Nightmare on Elm Street, and Skeet Ulrich was like the poor man's Johnny Depp back in the day. So like you see him and you're like, holy shit, that just looks like the Johnny Depp character. I mean, Same haircut, same floppy haircut, everything. And those movies are so smart, because like Henry Winkler, who in Return of the Walking Flu is now actually he's actually the principal of the school.
Oh, you did put on.
So he's the principal of the school now because well, if you've read the whole series, Anthony Perkins' character was actually like taken away in handcuffs. So I had to have a new school principal come in. So I had Henry Winkler come in, and I thought it was perfect because obviously he played the principal in Scream. And gets unceremoniously killed after you see him with the mask on. So that like the red herrings in those films, like I don't even know if you knew this, but like for example, the name of Skeet Ulrich's character, okay?
It's been so long since I've seen him. What was his name? Billy
Loomis.
That's Halloween.
Dr. Loomis is from Halloween, exactly. Also Dexter Loomis, right?
Oh yeah.
So, but his name is Billy Loomis. So you should have known from the beginning of the film that he was most likely the killer based on that. Anyways, I thought those movies are actually so much smarter than they have any right to be. But I guess that's why they were able to talk Wes Craven into directing all three of them rather than, and it got me thinking, man. It got me thinking like, if there were a series that I think I could restart for a film franchise, like I think that I could get, write something up that would be good enough to where Neve Campbell would actually come back and actually star as Sydney one more time, but she'd be like a mom now, and it would be like her kid that's going through everything.
Yeah.
Because that's the nostalgia part of it. You bring Sydney back to be part of it, but you totally make it about the next generation of characters.
Also doing Halloween, a new Halloween. Jamie Lee Curtis is still in there, but
Well, yeah, but that's because Jamie Lee Curtis is 68 years old at this point or whatever. It's like Sarah Connor in that last Terminator film. She's sitting there with like a crutch just trying to get to places.
Jamie Lee still she's still.
I'm kidding about Linda Hamilton as well. Linda Hamilton like kicked ass in that film. She went from being the soft-spoken, cute girl, which Linda Hamilton was never cute. I even in that show Beauty and the Beast with Ron Perlman, she was not.
She was the Beast.
What's that?
She was the Beast.
No, he was the Beast.
Okay.
But, my mom loved that show, by the way. But even in that first Terminator film, like she was never super attractive, right? But now she's like the chain smoking old woman that sounds like this, and she's just badass. She's just picking up the big Arnold guns and firing them everywhere, like they're nothing. So anyways, so that's what I did today. And obviously I go back to work tomorrow, and I'm not happy about that because even though it's only a 4-day work week this week, Yeah, because we go Tuesday to Friday.
No, I'm saying, so did you was it late shift last week we were talking about, or is it this week you got to do it?
Oh no, I had a late shift last week. I had a late shift on Tuesday. I took my first escalated call at my job.
Ooh, how'd that go? About that later.
And I do have two late shifts scheduled for this month. I've got the 20th and the 30th, so that'll be no fun. But anyways, but my company announced some major changes this week, Tino, and when I say major changes, they're all for the better, which is awesome. Like, for example, now for those that don't know, I'm not actually going to talk about the company that I work for. Like, I'm not going to say who they are or anything. Just like when I worked at GameStop, I never actually talked about working at GameStop. Oh, my computer's trying to tell me to restart for some reason. We're not doing that right now. So they announced that no job in the entire company is going to be less than $15 an hour starting like next week.
Okay.
So minimum across the board wage of $15 an hour. That, that doesn't really affect me, but will affect people across the board, which is pretty cool. They announced that now you can carry over up to 80 hours of your PTO time per year.
That's cool.
I used most of mine, so it's not gonna affect me this year, but next year it could. If conventions all close down and everything else again next year, then I might not use all my vacation. They announced some cool stuff, man. Like health insurance won't go up in price next year.
Nice.
And then they announced some bonuses for people that do not typically qualify for bonuses, which includes me. So I was pretty happy about that. So some cool stuff happening there too. It was pretty neat. Awesome. But since I don't talk about the company I work for, you know what time it is, Tino?
GameStop story of the week.
Now, did I ever tell you about the guy that was sitting on the counter that got fired?
That was last week.
I did tell that. I told that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got it. Oh man, I was ready to just jump right into that story and have a go. Did I talk about the guy that ninja quit?
Is that the one where he had the sword and the people were like, if you fire him, something?
Well, so it's the same guy, but it's actually how he quit the company.
I don't think you told that one.
Okay, so here we go. Ready?
What happened to the piece of paper in the drawers you had?
I still got it. It's just most of them are crossed off at this point.
There was one that you said you were going to save and you wouldn't tell it. You said it was a good one.
Until we hit 1,000 subscribers on the channel. All
right. So let's see the ninja quit.
Oh no, I got it. Yeah, I'll tell the ninja quit one, but I do have a good one on here too. That actually I may have already told too. I just didn't cross it off. So the ninja quit story. So when my old boss Kevin used to work for the company, he would travel around and go to different stores like he was supposed to as a district manager. And as I was training to be, as I was a training manager for the area, from time to time, the district manager would say, all right, you've got double coverage. You want to go travel with me, right? So I would go travel around to other stores too, look at how the store looked, see what could be worked on, have a conversation with the manager about how they're actually planning on attacking the things that need to be fixed, blah, 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 right? So we start the visit in my store, and then we go down to one of the other stores. At this point, I was off Capitol Boulevard, and so there's another store on Capitol Boulevard. So we stop at it. Now I'm not going to say the name of the manager here, but we'll call him. I don't know. Give me a name.
Billy.
All right, we'll call him Billy. So Billy is sitting there and having, we're sitting there talking to him about what's going on in the store and everything, having this cool visit, and everything just seems just run of the mill. Everything's happening like it always does. This is probably a year and a half after the whole samurai sword incident. So that's kind of in the past at this point. We don't really talk about it, or, if we do, we just laugh about it at this point.
Right.
So we get done at that store, we give them a list of things that need to be completed in the store and everything. And we're like, all right, time to move on to the next one. So we go from there over to North Hills, right? And we're over at North Hills and we're sitting there talking to the manager at North Hills. We're going around the store. We're fixing a section in the store, doing that kind of thing, doing what we do on a visit. And Billy shows up, and Billy actually like just is like, "Oh, I'm here to pick some stuff up to take back to my store." Okay, that happens from time to time, but normally you have to clear it by the district manager because you have to know where the managers are, right?
Right.
So that's fine. We sit there. We end up going to lunch while we're at North Hills because we like places over at North Hills, you know. And obviously, I'd worked at North Hills for so many years or whatever.
Fox and Hound.
Yeah, so either the Fox and Hound, or we probably went to like Mia Francesca because Kevin liked that place. So we probably went there. Might have went to Firebirds, you know, like one of the good restaurants. Yeah. Actually, one of my favorite places to go to over there was called Spring Rolls because they make my absolute favorite sweet and sour chicken. But what's funny is the place is called Sweet Roll or Spring Rolls, and I didn't like the Spring Rolls.
Right.
I just don't like them. I don't like Cabbage Rolls.
Oh, that's good.
They just taste weird to me, so I just don't. I don't really deal with them. But I absolutely. I mean, to this day, if that place is still there, and it used to be right next to the Ruth's Chris, if it's still there, like it's one of the places that I will continue to go eat at. Kind of like at Crabtree, they've got that little Sarku restaurant.
Yes.
You know, with their version of like the teriyaki chicken.
Yeah.
Get that every time I go there. The only other place that I go to now, there's the place directly above Con Key, which is like a little noodle bar for Con Key, but it's like a little hideaway. And I go up and when I worked at Crabtree, like you could walk in there even at Christmas time and have lunch and sit down and everything else, whereas nowhere else in Crabtree could you sit down for lunch at Christmas.
Nobody knows up there.
Exactly. So anyway, you know, we leave North Hills, we go over to Crabtree. And we're sitting there helping the manager fix the section and everything else, and Billy shows up again. And we're like, what's going on? Like, why, is he following us? Like, what is up with this, right? So we obviously see him. We sit there, we ask him, hey, you know, aren't you supposed to be back at your store at this point? Oh, no, you know, because I was over at North Hills, and this is only like one exit down. I stopped here so I could get some shelves or whatever to fix those sections that you told me I needed to do so I could go back to my store. Okay, cool. Sounds really fishy, but, you know, like, what the fuck ever. You know, we'll allow it because at least
roll with it.
What's that?
We'll roll with it.
We'll figure out what it really was, you know, later or whatever. Come to find out, what he was trying to do was slip his work keys into Kevin's like man purse with his resignation letter. So he couldn't get to it at North Hills, and he couldn't get to it at his own store. So he kept following us to other stores.
How'd you figure that out?
Because Kevin went into his man purse, and there was a set of keys and a resignation letter.
Oh my God.
And he went and he finished out his day at his store, and then he was like, today's my last day. And that was it. And he just ninja quit.
That's awesome. I've never heard anything like that before.
Yeah.
So how did he know where you guys were going?
I mean, he kept showing up where we were, so he.
Yeah, how did you know?
Well, a lot of times Kevin would actually send out his travel schedule.
Gotcha.
So you would kind of know what stores he was supposed to hit, but you never knew what time. You know, because
hit the same time as you were hitting, though.
Well, he was following us because he knew where our travel schedule was going.
Gotcha.
You know, and it's very similar to like one of the things that I did learn while doing these travel visits and everything was Kevin always told me, so Rob, what you learn as a district manager, especially when corporate wants to visit, okay, what you do is you always have a route that you take them on. You know, you put them in the car, you drive them around. So
Yes.
you put them on the route. It could be 45 minutes out of your way, but you're going to take them to the stores you want to go to.
Yeah.
Because if they see on the side of the road, if they see GameStop on a sign, they're going to be like, let's stop at that one. So you drive all the way out of the loop and everything else to sit there and go, all right, hey, there's a GameStop. Let's stop at that one.
Gotcha. That's smart.
Now, granted, what ends up happening is like regional managers, so like Kevin's boss, would be like, which stores do we need to avoid for corporate visits? And they'd plan out the routes that way. But then their next visits would be directly to those stores that you were supposed to avoid.
Gotcha.
Because obviously they want to fix those stores, but they don't want corporate seeing those stores.
Yes, makes sense. You want to show them your best stores.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny though, because like it was always a dog and pony show, right? Those visits are always dog and pony shows. And anybody in the crowd that's listening to this, chime in if you've worked retail and you've had corporate visits before. But if they're coming and they let you know where they're going, there's no reason you should ever have a bad visit.
Exactly.
However, the downside to it is every time we would have one of those corporate visits, and my store always looked good, but like my attitude of the day would determine whether or not I had a good visit, kind of thing, right? It was just if it started with a bad conversation about like bonuses or whatever, it's gonna be something where I'm just gonna give my honest opinion, and sometimes that's not what you want to hear. And I've probably told those stories before here, so but what they never got to see on those corporate visits was what the true atmosphere of the store was going to be. And what I mean by that is, like right now, you have one opener. You might have someone come in for 2 hours so that you can take a lunch, and then you might close the store yourself, and you never have double coverage, right? So like if that's the situation, anytime that these corporate visits would come into town, they'd always tell you to double or triple stack your store with talent, so that way it always looked like your store was doing really well and you always had plenty of coverage.
Right.
But then the rest of the week, you'd have to delete all of your extra coverage because you used it all right there.
Yeah.
So it was always a catch-22, and I absolutely hated the dog and pony show, man. Like I can speak corporate ease as much as the next guy, and I'm pretty good at my communication style with a lot of stuff. But I absolutely hated when they'd be like, all right, show me your performance binder. And you'd pull out this binder that you put together 4 days before that, because no one ever keeps their performance binder up to date, right? And I was normally pretty good about keeping mine up to date because I was good at time management. But when they want to talk about the stuff, it's like, okay, so it shows here that you're like 400th out of 4,000 stores in this category. So you're top 10%. Yup. So what do you have to say about that? We're doing really good there. What the fuck else you want me to say? Oh, we could sell another pack of batteries and that would push that number up a little bit. Fuck that. So glad I don't have to do that stuff anymore. So anyway, the Ninja Quit story. I always like that one. I like falling back on that one. That was funny. Next week, if I haven't told it, I'll tell an inventory story about the inventory tags.
Okay.
I think that one will be fun. So someone will have to remind me. I've got it written down here, but might have to be reminded of it. So hey, since we're getting ready to talk about pro wrestling, before we do that, one last question about what's up with you. How's the knee?
Yeah, so I'm still doing the physical therapy. I'm doing it twice a week now. Twice a week up until the 24th, and then that's when I go in and find out when pretty much schedule my ACL surgery, because I found out. So
it's automatic that even though you're doing PT, that you're gonna have to have surgery.
Well, yeah, because I was asking my last week, because I was confused, like, why am I doing PT? And apparently with the meniscus tear and the MCL tear, sometimes with PT, if you do it, it'll help strengthen it and sometimes help heal it enough. He said, but PT, there's no PT for the ACL. Now, if I wasn't going to be playing basketball or running or anything like that, he said there's no really need for ACL surgery. I'm like, well, I want to get back into CrossFit and going back to the gym. He said, well, yeah, you probably going to, because that's what I like, going to the gym. That's what helped me lose the weight. I'm starting to put it back on, but that's what helped me keep the weight off. And I actually like going to the gym. He's like, well, yeah, to do some of the things and some of the CrossFit things, where you're moving side to side and doing a lot of things that I was doing, the ACL. And plus I'm older. He said older and heavier guys, they'd probably go ahead and get that ACL taken care of. So, but it doesn't hurt. I've got 2 more. It's funny. I got 2 more weeks in the knee brace that I'm wearing now. But when I have surgery, that's when I'll get what I call the bionic knee brace, the one that goes from like your ankle all the way up to your
knees.
Yeah, and with the little things that you can adjust. And I'll probably have to wear that for about 2 or 3 weeks. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. But
sounds like you're gonna look like the Miz when you're in the wheelchair.
So that's why I was like, I miss coming over there doing the shows. I was like, you can figure out how to do it downstairs. We can do it side by side, because I do miss coming over there and just hanging out.
Sure.
This is cool, but I like it better when we're in the same room.
Yeah, today I spent the whole day by myself. No outside interference at all from anybody coming over or anything. And I was like, man, I'm bored. But then I just kept watching those movies. So I was like,
I know you're talking about you need to clean your house. Did you actually get up and clean?
I did do some. I cleaned the kitchen. I look at a coffee table. There's always stuff on it, but like now at this point, it's cleaned off enough to where it's easy to lift the thing up and be able to eat on it and everything else like I do. And I did a load of laundry. So, I mean, yeah. And all the dishes got put into the dishwasher. I just have to run the dishwasher now. And I'll probably do that tomorrow while I'm working.
Oh yeah. And so I graduated. I don't know if I told you, but I graduated from crutches, but I still have to use a cane. Dude, it's just which
now,
I'm
did you
glad.
get a cool pimp cane at least?
No, they gave me. I think I'm gonna go to Target and buy myself a cool pimp cane, because they gave you the medical canes, the gray
with like the 4 feet on the bottom of it.
Thank God it doesn't have the 4 feet on the bottom of it, but it's like gray, and it just looks like an old man. I'm like, no, I want to get a cool MVP cane. If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it right.
Yeah, it better have like a cubic zirconia
something,
gem on the top of it and everything. Yeah,
I'll order one off of Amazon.
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea.
So I had something happen this week that I'm pretty pissed off about. And I just want to get it off my chest.
Okay.
So Walmart had these exclusive, and I'm not normally a toy buyer or anything, but they had these Lucasfilm 50th anniversary Star Wars figures. So I guess George Lucas's company actually started about 50 years ago. So these were like the prototype figures of like the drawings turned into action figures that became like the droids in Star Wars kind of thing.
Okay.
So they actually made figures for it. They were Walmart exclusives, and you had to pre-order them. So I pre-ordered one of each of them. They were $12.99 each, so I was like $36, whatever, $39, no big deal. So they all came in this week. Now, Tino, I'm a 43-year-old man. I'm not going to open these action figures, right? So I want them to be pristine.
Right.
So 2 of them came in a box, and the box was smaller than the figures on their backing cards. So they bent the backing cards to fit the 2 figures into the box. That pissed me off. Like, they know that the people that are buying a 50th anniversary Lucasfilm action figure are not opening the piece of shit up and playing with it. They know that the people that are buying this are buying it to collect it, right? The third one came in a little bubble wrapper bag. And while the backing card was almost perfect, the little plastic thing that held the figure in was smushed. So at this point, I am so angry that when I finally take them to a Walmart to return them, I feel like I'm just going to throw them at customer service.
Right.
I know.
It's not their fault.
It wasn't their customer service person's fault. But they are the Walmart representative when I go there.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna, and you know that I'm going to get a person that doesn't understand collecting something. Because I'm going to be like, I want to return these. And they're going to be like, there's nothing wrong with them. You haven't opened them. Well, they're bent to shit. So I don't want them. Well, sir, that's not really a reason. You're going to return it, or I'm going to throw it at you.
Is this actual conversations you had?
No. But
okay.
But I know how it's going to go. Like I know it. So angry.
I thought you were saying you went back and had the conversation. I'm like, oh my God.
No. I just need to, like, I put all 3 of them in the box, but like upright in the box that the 2 came in. And I still haven't dissipated the heat from how I feel about it. So I gotta get rid of that first before I actually go, so that I can have a natural conversation with somebody about it. Because right now I literally want to take that box in and just throw it at somebody and be like, fix my shit.
Fix it now.
Fix it now. Exactly. So yeah. How about we get into some wrestling?
Let's do it. We're about an hour in. Let's do it.
It's all right. So I want to go ahead and start by saying Monday Night Raw and NXT, I did not watch.
Fair enough.
In fact, since all the announcements for NXT specifically, and now showing the commercial during SmackDown of the new flaming logo of NXT, I have no interest in watching NXT. I know that Samoa Joe is the first 3-time champion there. I know that Indy Hartwell and Dexter Lumis are supposed to get married this week on what I guess is going to be the final current rendition of NXT. I know that 2 of my favorite wrestlers, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, probably aren't going to have a job after this week. So I just don't care.
And we kind of touched bases before we came on the air, and I was telling you while I see, because we always have this conversation about AEW and WWE being Vince doesn't see them as competition, and I agree with you. Business wise, with all the platforms and Saudi Arabia, money wise, no. But with Vince taking over NXT now, pretty much firing Triple H and he's blaming Triple H for NXT failing at 75, and as senile as he is, and with this new mandate that he came at, nobody over 6 feet, nobody under 6 feet. No, but nobody under 6 feet. He's going back to the big man like it was in the 80s. And that's cool. But like I was telling you, that was cool until WCW came in and they brought in the cruiserweights. And that's what kind of swerved people over, because they were doing amazing shit.
No. And you and I both know that what really actually caused the WCW to take over
NWO.
Was the NWO. And it was giving you something new and fresh when the WWE was still doing characters. And it's weird, man, because seeing Karrion Kross look like a mix between a Gimp and Super Shredder, I legitimately think
that's Vince. That's got Vince's fingerprints.
Oh, it's totally Vince. Vince was like, I see him as a gladiator, and all I can think there is that Karrion Kross is like, what did I sign up for?
And watching, and we're going to talk about it, but having that mindset and thinking about Vince taking over NXT and just taking over, just writing or produce whatever he's doing, and watching what I watched last night from AEW, it may not be Vince. I'm not saying they're going to put WWE out of business, because they've been around 57 million years. But they are, while they are adding new talent, they are still using the talent that they have. They're not showing the same matches over and over, not recycling. And everybody on that roster is getting used, where on Raw and SmackDown even they're using you're seeing the same matches. What the main point, because we laughed about this WrestleMania, what was that, the rebound, when they were showing all the matches again? What was that about? You know what I'm saying? Shit like that's gonna make me flip the channel.
So, and we'll obviously talk about that a lot more when we actually put up the little banner for AEW stuff, right? But it
and I know you're not an AEW fan. I know you're not.
Don't say that. I am a wrestling fan, sir.
Yeah, okay. But you don't care for AEW that much.
No. There's things I do not like about it. In fact, I will even talk about things that I did not like from the pay-per-view, which will be very hot takes comparatively to what everyone else is saying. Like I'll bring up something about the Young Bucks in their match. I will bring up the fact that I feel like bringing Adam Cole out was the wrong move on last night. But I digress with that. With the WWE right now is a company worth $4.21 billion.
And I'm not arguing that.
No. And see, it's funny, and you don't argue with me about it at this point, but like everyone in our group sits there and calls me a WWE whatever, like I call it a mark or a homer, like I get it. And I will always have some semblance of loyalty to the WWE because ever since I was 6 years old watching wrestling, it was always WWE wrestling. It doesn't mean that I don't like AEW. I legitimately told you last night that they had matches with 4 of my favorite wrestlers on the card, and then they legitimately announced 2 more of my favorite wrestlers as part of AEW last night. So 6 guys that I absolutely love watching. So you can't say that I don't like AEW. Yes. I bought an AEW shirt. It's not here yet because Pro Wrestling Tees prints to order and blah, blah. Give me a fucking break. Like they didn't know that CM Punk's shirt was going to break the internet.
They knew.
And yet they weren't already pre-printing them. Go fuck them. They're full of shit.
They were because CM Punk came out wearing the fucking shirt. So. And
they were selling them that night.
Yeah.
Now, granted, that show is in Chicago. Pro Wrestling Tees is based out of Chicago. So you know that they came with like 10,000 shirts to sell in the 15,000 person arena. Anyways, the WWE is worth $4.2 billion.
Right.
AEW is not worth anywhere near that.
Not yet.
And we know that it very well could be true competition for the WWE down the road. The thing that people always go back to is, well, AEW beat NXT in the ratings. But then the first thing I say today on our wrestling group is I say, so I guess the most important number that we're going to have to pay attention to is what the AEW Dynamite Wednesday night's rating is this week. And the first question I get is, why is that number going to matter?
I saw that.
So all of the AEW purists in our group, even still, Pro Wrestling Tees is not a good company to partner with if you have all of your own merch done through them. Chris Barrett, my biggest problem with Pro Wrestling Tees for the merch side is that it is an independent company, and yet you have partnered with them as the official merchandiser of your stuff, when in actuality, AEW could just buy a silk screening press company and be printing all of their own merchandise at a fraction of the cost of what Pro Wrestling Tees is doing it for. Like, I can't stand the fact that when I wanted the CM Punk t-shirt, which I did buy, there was no free shipping option. There was no free shipping option.
You serious?
There was $30 plus tax plus shipping. So the shirt came to $41 by the time I was done paying for it. Like, for a t-shirt. And then this past weekend they do a 20% off sale for Labor Day. and I could have gotten the same shirt for $6 less. But wait,
There's
I
more.
still haven't gotten my shirt. So why am I not getting that 20% off?
You already
When they
paid.
delayed shipping my shirt out until after that weekend.
They got your money. They're done with you, bro.
Yeah, and see, that's the type of thing that fucking sucks. You think I've ever had a problem buying something from WWEshop.com? No, I got it 4 days later. In fact, I think I got it before I got shipping details. Like it just showed up one day and it was like, holy shit, I got 3 shirts, you know? Anyways, let's get back to wrestling. With the WWE being a $4 billion company and AEW not being a $4 billion company, they're not competition. However, when I said that Wednesday night, this week's rating is going to be extremely important for the future of AEW, it's going to determine whether or not the 3 people that showed up on Sunday, Ruby Soho, Bryan Danielson, and Adam Cole, whether or not they move the needle in ratings. And you can tell me that ratings don't matter, but you're full of shit.
They matter.
Because the 18 to 49 demographic, which when you say, well, it's all about the demos, that's still a rating. And right now, SmackDown has a higher 18 to 49 demo than AEW typically does. The only night that hasn't been the case was the first episode of Rampage with CM Punk.
Yeah, agreed.
And that was for 15 minutes. Now, interestingly enough, why is AEW Rampage on at 10 p.m. on Fridays, Tino?
It's following because they're coattailing SmackDown.
And why are they coattailing SmackDown?
Because they know it's going to be a good lead. I think because they know that's right now that's WWE's best show.
And it's their highest rated show.
Yeah.
So anybody that's going to watch SmackDown, if they're still up on Friday night at 10 o'clock, they're going to turn the channel over to TNT to watch and see what happens.
And here's my thing. They were talking about, I know I've heard rumors of they're going to make Rampage, give them a second hour. If they do that, nobody's going to stay up to midnight. So they're probably going to move that back to 9 to 11. So it'll be going head to head with SmackDown. Because you're not going to watch 10 to midnight. You're not going to watch SmackDown. They're going to watch 10 to 12 Rampage. So they're going
I think what AEW is hoping for there, if they ever do decide to make Rampage a 2-hour show, which, by the way their roster's increasing, they're going to have to. You know, because I saw on their Instagram today that they have 7 matches planned for Dark Elevation tonight, starting at 7 p.m. Right?
Yep.
And that's because they understand that by doing a show specific to their YouTube broadcast, it promotes the YouTube page and gets them YouTube subscribers, which gets them another source of income, which is great. It's very smart. I wouldn't be surprised. And I'll be honest, I am a little surprised that we didn't see NXT start out as a YouTube show and then make its way over to USA. And instead, you know, obviously they just went right to USA with it. Because you look at Impact Wrestling uses their Twitch stream to sit there and get it to people that can't watch it on whatever channel it's on at this point.
Whatever, yeah.
Yeah, Access. So it's amazing to me that they have found different outlets to be able to make money with subscriptions and everything else that allow them and help them do that, which is great. The other reason why AEW isn't competition to the WWE right now is because they don't have the extensive library of pay-per-views and matches and other programming that the WWE does. The WWE has catalogs upon catalogs upon catalogs of previous tapings and everything else. I mean, you have 30 years of Monday Night Raw.
Yes. And that's what I'm saying. It'll take a minute too, because they're only 2 years old. 2 years old now?
Yeah.
It was 100th episode of the show Wednesday night was 100th
Dynamite, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And good for them, man. They've made it 2 full years on that programming, and they've started a second show on the Turner networks. But remember, in October they're getting moved over to TBS, right? So while Rampage will continue to be on Friday nights on TNT, Dynamite is being moved over to TBS. So it's going to be interesting there too, whether or not the move over to TBS is going to be able to sustain the rating. But anyways, I'm very interested yet concerned with what's going to happen with NXT.
Yes.
I really do worry that we're going to see training videos and actual like performance center training classes, like when they used to do what was it, Tough Enough and all those.
Yeah.
Like I think it's going to be a lot more of that.
Reality TV again.
Yeah. And we may get one or two matches from some of the new up and coming talent, but I think that we'll end up seeing like the NXT belt go away. We'll see all of that that everybody's worked so hard for disappear. And I'll straight up say it, Tino. I've already said I think Triple H should give his resignation, start contacting all of this talent that just got let go by the WWE, and start his own promotion. Because anybody that thinks that Cody Rhodes and Tony Khan can go out and get TV contracts right now, if you don't think that Triple H is also capable of getting a TV contract with somebody like a Turner or a WGN or somebody like that or hell, Sinclair Broadcasting, like Triple H could go out there and probably buy Ring of Honor back from them if he wanted to. At this point, the guy's got enough money.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got millions of shares of WWE stock that he sells from time to time. He is probably a billionaire by himself at this point. So he probably has access to all of that and would, in fact, be able to set up a place that could be his own wrestling company if he wanted to. And I bet that there are conversations between him and Stephanie right now where they discuss it, or him and Sean where they discuss it. And you've got to think that at this point, he's got to be thinking, I got a cush life here as long as I want it, but I fell out of favor with Pops. And you fall out of favor with Vince McMahon, you never you never work again, Chris Barrett sits there and says that he probably forfeiting the shares. You play it smart, Chris Barrett. You start selling those shares now, then you tender your resignation after you've collected all the money.
And hopefully Stephanie don't leave him, because Vince is gonna be furious.
Yeah. I think there's less of Vince being furious in that situation. He let Shane leave the business for as long as he wanted to. I think that if Triple H sat there and said, boss, you're not giving.
So I'm gonna go start another company, another company, maybe compete with you.
Well, the trick there is that Vince could always just buy it, right? So, because at this point you can't even say that Vince has a monopoly anymore.
Yeah.
So, when it comes to Raw and SmackDown or Raw and NXT. The thing I'll say about Raw is apparently the script got ripped up like 2 hours before the show. And we ended up with just Vince hodgepodging something together again. And when you have a 3-hour broadcast, it can't be hodgepodged together. And they've been hodgepodging for 10, 12 months now, 14, 24, 36 months, whatever the case might be. They've been hodgepodging. Shane left to start his own company that wasn't competing with his father. However, Shane actually did want to go into MMA business, which could have been competition at one point. And, while Dana White sits there and says that they're not competition to them, they all look at the same numbers. And They all look at how do I take that clientele and turn them into my clientele? And that's just the way it always is. SmackDown. I did watch SmackDown. SmackDown was excellent this week. You got those crazy backstage segments where Paul Heyman's phone's being blown up by Brock Lesnar,
and it's Brock Lesnar's theme music. My favorite is when it first started ringing, and it was Brock's ringtone. He's trying to act like he didn't hear it, and she's like, "You gonna answer that?"
I also absolutely loved his comments going backstage and talking to and talking to Roman, where he's like, my tribal chief, we have a problem. And he goes, Paul, we don't have a problem.
Yep.
You
have a problem.
And of course, like my favorite part about it is Brock, or Roman basically sitting there being like, figure it out, Paul. Figure it out. We got more of the Happy Corbin storyline.
I don't know if I'm feeling that. I don't.
We all said that we didn't like where it was going with the poor Corbin, and then we all started really enjoying that.
Yeah. So
I'm going to give it a couple weeks, because we know that Corbin's never going to be a babyface. He is primed to be a career heel, and he's good at it. So I'm completely fine to see where it goes. The whole Logan Paul thing, it's a cash grab. It's just trying to garner ratings for both programs, because he showed up on Monday Night Raw and then he showed up on SmackDown. It'll probably lead to a match, or at least a tag match, between Corbin and him and Kevin Owens and somebody, probably Shinsuke, or somebody else completely different. Maybe they actually try to get, whoever he's supposed to be facing in his next boxing match to come in and do a pro wrestling match with them. I doubt it, but maybe. Sami Zayn versus Dominic Mysterio. I'm going to say right now, just get to the end game with the Mysterio breakup already. Just get to it.
Dominic, he's turning heel. He's going to turn on his dad.
He's totally going to turn on his dad. Because I wouldn't buy Rey Mysterio turning heel and slapping his kid. Like if I were Dominic, I would just pick Dad up and be like, "You don't smack me." No.
Not in my house.
I am interested to see how Dominic continues, though, because he is getting better in the ring, and he is a natural at it. It's just he
needs more time. He still
would have benefited greatly from this new NXT program.
Yeah.
It really would have been something there.
You know what? I do want to. We were on SmackDown, and I forgot, and it just dawned on me on Raw with Nia Jax.
Oh, yes. I knew you were going to bring it up. Yes, go ahead.
Because at some point in that match, something went wrong, and you can see it click in both of them. And from that point, that was a shoot, because they were smacking. She tried to pick her up for what the Samoan drop. Charlotte dropped her weight down, didn't let her do it. Then there was an awkward run off the ropes where she was running towards her. I'm like, something happened in that ring. I didn't know where it happened, but you could definitely tell that.
They both got legit heated, and they both started going for real for a while. Now, by the time they finished the match, apparently by the time they went backstage, they were back on the same page, and it was just blowover. But
I wonder what happened.
I mean, one girl probably got slapped in the titty. Ow, you hit my nipple. My areolas.
Probably Nia, my hole.
Yeah, she probably put her finger in her butt.
Yeah, I forgot to say about that Raw. I'm like, dude, that was like, what the just happened?
Well, because I was getting ready to say the next thing I want to talk about on SmackDown is the return of the man, Becky Lynch. And here's what I want to say about it. When Becky defied the odds by getting to be a babyface called the Man after breaking her nose, it set the women's wrestling on fire, right?
Yes.
Straight fire.
Straight fire.
Vince wanted her to be a heel.
The fans weren't happy.
He couldn't get it over, so he had to let her be a babyface. She goes away for 13 months or whatever it is to have her baby and then come back, and what happens?
She came
she's
back to
instantly a heel because Vince wanted her to be a heel so bad that he forced it on her. And she's running with it. Don't get me wrong. She's not doing a bad job, but the crowd still wants to cheer her.
It's like the Stone Cold thing. I mean, no matter how much of an asshole he tried to be and they tried to make him, they're not fucking booing Stone Cold.
Well, there was a difference there. Stone Cold was in charge of that heel turn. And there have been rumors backstage that Becky said, when I come back, I want to be heel. And I don't know why, because she would have gotten that year grace period of babyface pops and being the top babyface on SmackDown if she wanted it. And she should have gone to Raw. You know, there's a lot of talk about how Fox was mad at WWE for not signing CM Punk. So WWE came back and said, it's okay. We've got a plan for that. We're going to put Becky Lynch and Brock Lesnar on SmackDown. So Fox can be happy. And then what happens? It pisses USA off because what do they get? They got a 2-minute match with Goldberg a month ago, right? So I look at that and I really think that they're trying to put Band-Aids on in situations because I don't know if you heard, I posted it on the Facebook page, on the group. The network executives at Fox have announced that The Undertaker will be showing up at the Madison Square Garden SmackDown this week. Why? Like I know that you're calling it Super SmackDown, and that's wonderful, but I don't need to see him come down to the ring hobbling down and giving a tombstone. Like, it's a Band-Aid, and it's almost like saying, hey, the executives at Fox are just as dumb as the people in Saudi Arabia that wanted to have Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair in Saudi Arabia. And we couldn't give them that, so we gave them Goldberg and The Undertaker. You know what I mean? Like, it's just weird. It kind of upsets me. It kind of ticks me off that they're going to that well again. After they said, we know that we're stale and we need to get younger. And then they're going to bring out a guy that's like 54 years old.
And can't walk.
Well, the difference is that Becky has boobs and Stone Cold doesn't. I don't know if that was my Facebook or your Facebook that did that.
Yeah, I think it was mine.
But anyways, that's how Super SmackDown will be interesting. It'll have some moments of nostalgia. It'll have that kind of stuff. But overall, the interaction between Paul Heyman, Brock Lesnar, and Roman Reigns will be interesting. A lot of people think that at the end of SmackDown this week, which, by the way, the match with Finn and Roman was excellent. I really liked the fact that, you know, he got the beat down at the beginning, which made him look super strong by the end as a competitor for Roman. At the same time, we end up getting the red light and everything, so everybody thinks that it's for the demon, but I think it was to symbolize Brock Lesnar coming back. So it was to scare Roman into thinking that Brock Lesnar was back. You know, there's another thing that red light could always do too, and that could be the Fiend, right? So there is talk that while didn't Brock beat the Fiend for the belt? Was it the Fiend he beat? Bray Wyatt? Who did he beat? No. Goldberg beat the Fiend. So, all right, Tino.
Here we go.
I left us 40 minutes to talk all things AEW. Okay. I'm going to start by saying that Dynamite has basically all AEW programming has basically become, up until the first match that he had at All Out, had become, and we're going to hear from CM Punk. Rumor is CM Punk didn't even sign his contract till his match last night.
What?
Now, I could have read that wrong. He may have signed his contract when he went out for the first Rampage debut. But Tony Khan is very, very particular on letting them sign their contract the first day they're supposed to show up at the building. So they become all elite as they actually get announced and show up, which I think is pretty cool. Yeah. But you're going to find some people that aren't exactly all over that. We've got only one VZ out in the audience. Shavar, welcome to the show.
What's up,
I know
Shavar?
that you were watching AEW last night, so if you wanna chime in the chat with your opinions, or you want me to send you a code to join the show, I know that you and your 200,000 plus TikTok followers would benefit greatly from our audience.
Wow.
Oh, come on. Come on, that was funny. So when it comes to Dynamite, I don't really remember all that much that happened on it at this point because I am so fixated on what happened on Sunday night, right? But I do feel that the build and the lead into All Out was extremely well done. I found it really interesting when we talk about sorry, here I am trying to talk and you're telling me to send a text message to somebody.
Sorry.
I find it really interesting that on Rampage that Daniel Garcia has been in the main event, I think, every week.
Yeah, like he came from nowhere. Who? I don't even know who he is, and obviously he's like Red Death. I never heard of him.
Yeah, he's just one of those new kids, But like 2.0 has been in the main event on Rampage, like causing stirs on every episode of Rampage since they've shown up.
And they were relegated to where were they? They were on NXT.
They were NXT.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were the ones that always had the coffee mugs.
Yes. What were they called on NXT? I don't even remember now.
I don't even remember at this point. I always called them the Fat Young Bucks.
You crack me up with that shit.
I mean, it's what they are.
Hey, by the way, I'm looking at it says the Potsy and Tino shirt. Do you see that at the top?
It says the shirt.
You see it, the Potsy and Tino shirt up by the
no
up by where the StreamYard the duck is. I don't know if you can see it on your side.
No, I don't see it.
Oh yeah, it's just funny.
Got some comments out there. Let's see. We've got Chris Barrett saying he's not on the TikTok. Shavar says, "What up, fellas?" I'll say I became a fan of pro wrestling again. He's saying that about last night. I know that I got a text message in the middle of the show from Shavar about the tag team championship match.
Best match of the night, I think.
I think they did the lead up to All Out all wrong. Okay. Rampage is a B-rate show, except each episode has seemed to have Kenny Omega, Jon Moxley, and CM Punk on it. So I think they're doing that right. Wait, did you guys get a Pro Wrestling Tee store? No, we did not. We use TeePublic for our T-shirts.
No, I think they're saying that at the top it does say the Potsy and Tino shirt because even Savar sees it too.
I don't see it. So it says the Potsy and Tino shirt.
Yeah, up there by the StreamYard, the duck. I don't know if you can see it on your side.
No, I can't see it.
Yeah.
I do see it by the duck. Hold on.
Yeah.
I can't edit that though.
Oh, don't worry about it. It's just funny.
Oh wait, maybe I can. Hold on. There's an edit button.
Yes, we were. We were blessed to see the first TLC live. Yes, we were.
There. Now it says the Potsy and Tino show.
There you go.
There. The title of the show. Yeah. It's this weird program that I have to use to be able to broadcast when we're not in the same building together. Best tag match since TLC 2, and we were blessed to see that one live. You were absolutely right, Shavar. Let's go ahead and talk about the card. The card started with the Best Friends and Jurassic Express versus the Matt Hardy compound or whatever they're calling them, the Hardy Foundation of Hope or something. I don't know what it is.
The Hart Family Office or something. But
Hardy Family Office, I think is what it. Yeah,
I didn't get to see it. For some reason. I watched the replay I watched. They didn't show that match. So the first match I saw was the first match of the actual pay-per-view. So I guess that was like a pre-game.
Yes, it was the buy-in.
I didn't see the buy-in.
So obviously WWE calls theirs the pre-show. They call theirs the buy-in. I'm going to tell you that match was a train wreck.
Okay, so I didn't miss much.
No. It was a train wreck in the best possible way, because it was like a 10-man tag match. Because you have Marco Stunt outside the ring. You've got Jurassic Express. You've got Chuck Taylor, Orange Cassidy, and that new kid that whatever his name is.
Oh, yeah.
Yuta, whatever.
The one that orange trained.
Yeah. So you've got all of them versus the Butcher, the Blade, Matt Hardy, and Private Party. So I mean, heck of a match. Went on way too long, if you ask me. Now granted, you got to get everybody their stuff in when you've got a 10-man tag match or whatever. But at the same time, like, it was just nuts. It was a huge, like I said, train wreck in terms of the type of thing that you don't want to always watch the entire thing, but you stay till the end because it's like you want to see them clean it up. Orange Cassidy did this like awesome double stunner where he like jumped over and did like a double stunner to people. So I mean, it was definitely the type of heater match that you get to start everything up. I liked the very first match of the card being Miro versus Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston's Teflon. I knew he wasn't going to win the match. I don't care what anybody says. Oh, Eddie's been doing it, the best work of his career. He needs that title. He deserved it. Well, Miro, by the way, who has made 3 character changes already in a short time with AEW, going from the bald gamer or the blonde gamer to the best man to now this Redeemer character.
No, he came in as the best man.
Sure he did, but he even changed that character to something else, and now has become the guy that sits there and says that God has blessed him as the world's greatest champion, and of course also blessed him with a hot wife that he sleeps with all the time, who I'm assuming we're going to see show up here shortly.
Oh yeah, she's coming.
I think that we're going to see her shortly. Miro opening the PPV shows that TNT title is a B-rate belt. I do not agree. When you ask pro wrestlers where they want to be on the card, they flat out tell you we either want to be the main event or we want to open the show. You don't want to be anywhere in the middle.
And the TNT title, I'm starting to see that, like we've talked about this before on the show, back in WCW NWA days. If you had that US strap, they're getting you ready to move up to the main event, to the main event, to the world title. And I don't
always think that that's the case though, Tino. I think that you can look at guys like Steve Austin. Steve Austin was supposed to win the US strap, and that was supposed to be the start of his big push, and then it became nothing, right?
Yeah.
Then you have like all the guys in the WWE that win the Intercontinental title and never move on to anything else. Like sure, The Miz is a 2-time WWE champion at this point, but he's like a 10-time Intercontinental champion, right?
Well, they're different companies, so like I was saying, I'm thinking that they are trying to put
same company.
No.
Oh, you mean with
AEW? I think that they're trying to bring back like wrestling. It's not sports entertainment. They're trying to bring back wrestling.
So out of all the champions of the TNT belt, Darby Allin has had one main event world title match, and none of the other guys have.
Didn't they?
Oh wait, no. Brody did have. In fact, when Moxley was the world champion, it was like both of those guys, but they both got those championship matches against Moxley before they went after the TNT title. So, the next match. So Miro goes over by cheating to win. I think that was a really bad way to go over in this match. I think he should have won clean.
Yes.
Obviously, it means that they can continue it as a feud if they want to. They obviously have something there that they can build on. But like you said, and in fact, like I think I would prefer to see, I think that belt needs to be defended against different people every week, especially with your growing talent.
Yes.
You kind of want to sit there and see other people getting a chance at those belts. And it's a perfect opportunity to use those ranking systems that you have to actually get different people chances with the belt, chances for the belts. Next matchup was obviously, hey, we said that Jon Moxley is going to be on this show. We're going to put him out early because we're going to do more with him on Wednesday night from Cincinnati. So he got Kojima in a match, which, by the way, him and Minoru Suzuki shows up at the end, Murder Grandpa. Both of them must be the trainers of the young boys in San Francisco, because right now at travel restrictions, they couldn't get Tanahashi over here. So they had to put Moxley on with somebody, and they wanted a New Japan match. So they went ahead and they grabbed one of the old hands from like the training yard out in San Francisco. So I was kind of disappointed by the match. I'll be real with you. Going back to the Miro match, I was absolutely blown away by the fact that Miro's chest looked like a rare roast beef sandwich by the time he was done.
They were smacking the shit out of each other.
Chris Barrett, we don't talk about Conrad on our show because we don't speak of rumors and innuendos. Belts like the TNT belt and the IC belt are like being an assistant general manager, while belts like are being the general. Nah, I don't know if that's the case. And this is why we don't bring up Conrad Thompson on our show. I'll just go back into the AEW talk now.
You cannot talk about the Nature Boy's son-in-law like that.
Well, anyways, man, see now I'm like you threw off. I was on a roll there. I was disappointed by the Moxley match. Moxley's supposed to be a babyface, and yet he slaps Kojima's hand at the very beginning and then gives him the finger. I'm okay with him giving the finger because Steve Austin got over by being a babyface that gave the finger all the time.
I was going to say, do you think he's AEW's answer to Stone Cold?
I think that he could be. He's their second world champion. He currently has had the championship longer than anybody else, right? I think that he wants to be the first Jon Moxley more than anything else.
Well, yeah.
Shavar says, I must say there's a huge difference between the WWE universe and the AEW crowd.
Yes.
That is priceless. Every match had a big fight feel. It did, and the crowd definitely led to it. Daniel Bryan actually spoke about it after the entire pay-per-view was over, which I'll talk more about towards the end, because when he shows up, Bryan Danielson, I'm sorry. That's going to take a while to get used to saying. The next match after that, I believe, was the Britt Baker versus Chris Statlander match. I felt that the match went exactly as I expected it to. I didn't expect Britt Baker to lose. The only thing I thought might have happened was her cohorts at ringside would be sent to the back at some point. They didn't go to that old trope in wrestling. So I was kind of glad to see that. Yeah. Statlander looked great against all three of them at different times, yet I didn't think she stood a chance of winning that match.
Britt's too hot right now.
And unfortunately, so out of the first three matches, there wasn't a surprise outcome. It legitimately was, you expect Miro to beat Eddie Kingston because Eddie Kingston's Teflon. You expect Jon Moxley to go over some random New Japan guy that's going to show up on your pay-per-view, and you expect Britt Baker to go over Chris Statlander. The only person that I would have thought might have had a chance against Britt Baker last night would have been Thunder Rosa. And we'll talk about her here in a minute. The next matchup was what? I don't even remember.
Was it? No.
I think it was the tag team title match.
Which was arguably the match of the night. Yet,
I have a serious problem with the booking of it. And I may be the only one, I'll start by saying the right team went over, Tino.
Yes, I'm trying to find the match card so we can.
Oh, I'm pretty sure that was the next match. The right team went over. They used the cage about as well as you possibly could in a cage match. My number one problem that I had with the booking of this was that the Lucha Brothers were completely had the shit beaten out of them.
Yes.
Now they won the match, but they completely had the shit beaten out of them. I mean, they literally took a thumbtack shoe to both of their heads. And,
that was so stupid.
Well, but when they did it to the Lucha Brothers, it looked like they did everything they could to put their eyes out. When the Lucha Brothers had to then give back, both times, neither one of the Young Bucks bled from it. Neither one.
Yeah.
Which means they were soft shots given to those guys. And all I can think is that while they're so amazing in the ring, they're babies behind the closed doors because they don't want anybody to hurt them. Like I legitimately thought Penta's eye had been knocked out.
Oh my God! When they had the blood
one shot, and yet the Young Bucks are such bullshit heels that, and you know that because they're the executive vice presidents backstage. That my only criticism to this match is that they had to be protected, whereas the Lucha Brothers said, "You can knock our eyes out if we go over."
All right,
Chris Barrett just said that the Young Bucks are
oh my God.
You mean pussies backstage, and yet they're supposed to be made to look like big bastards otherwise? You know, yeah. I loved hearing stories about Public Enemy and the Nasty Boys, and the Nasty Boys would like legitimately beat the shit out of them. So
you skipped a few matches before the yeah, because it was the after Moxley, according to well, no, it's not in order. Never mind. It's not in order. I thought I found one that was in order. It's not.
So okay. So what's the next match that we should talk about then? Because I don't need, if you want to. By the way, you're not saying very much. So if you want to go ahead and talk about this stuff, please do.
No, I was just trying to, like I said, the best match of the night to me was that tag team match, because that match had everything. That match had blood. That match had. I almost couldn't figure out how, because you knew that the Young Bucks were going to cheat. But with that cage around, how are they going to get stuff in? It was perfect that
Cutler threw it in.
Yeah. He was still down there and threw the bag over with the shoe. And I mean, it was paced nicely. The back and forth, you know, everybody going over. I think my favorite, there's so many favorite moves. I think one of my favorite moves is when they were on the outside and both the older brothers had the younger brother of the other team, and they
both did the pile driver while staring at each other. I thought that was kind of cheesy. In fact, there was another spot that I thought was extremely cheesy, and that's when everybody started giving super kicks to each other, and then and then they all did the other move to each other, and I was like, guys, you know, like here you have a match of the year candidate, and then you're gonna pull some like circus show shenanigans, you know, like. You know, if FTR was in that match, you would not have seen 4 super kicks in a row, right? I also, and this is a problem I have with pro wrestling in general, not just AEW, though AEW does it a lot more often. And obviously it's because of guys like the Young Bucks with their super kick party. That match had 4 diamond cutters and four super kicks. 2 of the most protected moves in the entire wrestling industry when it's the RKO and when it's sweet chin music. And yet everybody in AEW does a super kick, and everybody in AEW does a cutter.
And the Canadian Destroyer.
What you mean, the Panama or Pittsburgh Sunrise, as Britt Baker pulled off last night.
When Miro did it off the top turnbuckle, they called it the Canadian Destroyer.
Yeah, I know. Although they should have called it a Bulgarian Destroyer, because he's Bulgarian.
Miro, not Miro. I meant to say no. I'm not Miro. I meant to say Penta.
Oh yeah.
In the cage match. I'm sorry.
Wouldn't that be the Mexican Destroyer then?
See,
I mean, that's where he's from.
Not going there.
All right. So next up on the card, I MJF versus Chris Jericho.
I think that was later, was it?
Oh, you're right. Because I actually said the earlier in the card that one happens, the more likely Jericho wins. So the later in the card that they made that happen, the more likely Jericho losing would have been the case. So I think I you know what, I think it was Darby versus CM Punk was next.
Yeah, I can't find one that's in order, but yeah, that sounds about right. We'll just hit them all. If it's wrong, it's wrong.
So the number one thing that I heard about CM Punk's comeback was he's wearing pants.
Yeah, that. And I thought that match was kind of slow. It wasn't as quick as I thought it was going to be. It was still a good match.
And I think that it was done to protect Punk. There were a lot of rest holds used.
Yes.
To verify that his cardio was fine. And it was a protected match. It was hey, get your feet wet.
And there's a whole lot of, if you notice, and I guess because I've been watching wrestling long enough, I know when they're communicating, there's a lot of Punk having Darby in a headlock and putting his head down, which to me, he was telling Darby, where to go next.
He was calling the match. And he was blatantly calling the match. And there were a lot of moments where like he would be like, okay, I'm gonna throw you into the ropes, I want you to do this. All right. And he was always putting his head on top of his head, and you could see the mouth moving. So he was definitely calling the match, and he's a little, he probably has to figure out the television angles to be a better ring general than that. I did find it interesting that it looked like he was the one calling the match, because I would have felt that he would have had enough respect for Darby to let Darby call the match.
Yes.
Which is fine. Obviously he probably told CM Punk that he wants to do whatever Punk feels comfortable doing. So that's why Punk probably called the match. For those out there that don't necessarily kayfabe with us very often, calling the match is actually how you put the match together in the middle of the ring. So we'll just go ahead and say that. Punk goes over, shakes Darby's hand. Sting comes down, shakes Punk's hand. This would have been the perfect opportunity for a Darby heel turn.
Go heel. That's what I thought.
I told you that before the show even started. You were asking how I would do it. I flat out said, since Sting's backstage, you sit there, you have Darby end up getting pissed off that CM Punk and the crowd, CM Punk beat him and the crowd was against him. Now, the crowd wasn't exactly against him, but nobody's going to get a bigger pop than CM Punk on this night, right?
No.
Although it was questionable by the end of the night.
Yeah.
It was questionable by the end of the night, especially since you would have thought after 4.5 hours that crowd would have been deflated, and they did not seem to be.
They could have gone 4 more hours, honestly.
What's that?
For that crowd. They probably could have gone 4 more hours. That crowd would have eaten it up.
Oh, well, with the talent that they've got, they can, right? And the talent wanting to show 30-minute to 40-minute matches, right? So we get Jericho versus MJF, I think, after that.
I thought it was cool that they did the countdown and then MJF came out. And I also thought it was cool that he had his lead guitarist from Potsy play him down in the ring.
Yes. And that had everybody believing that was going to be the swan song because of that.
The only problem I had with him playing him down in the ring, him actually playing like over the verses, it threw the crowd off, so it wasn't in sync. The music wasn't in sync with the crowd. Yeah,
it was kind of like the Rick Boogs thing with Shinsuke's theme music recently.
Yeah.
I liked how the match ended. I didn't like the timing of the finish. And what I mean by that is that MJF pins him. Aubrey doesn't see that Jericho's foot's on the ropes. We get the 1, 2, 3. We get Aubrey raising his hand, and immediately after that, we get the other referee coming down. I would have preferred that Jericho actually sit there and be the one that's like, my foot was on the ropes. You gotta help me out here, Aubrey. Like go to the video, watch the video, have the crowd tell you, like whatever. But they just went right to the other referee sitting there telling her, and then she's like, well, okay, I guess restart the match. Like, I didn't like that. I felt that it did a disservice to the crowd, because imagine how big of a boo that crowd was going to get if Jericho started walking back up the ramp and Aubrey then saw the video and said, no, come on back down. Imagine the pop that Jericho would have gotten by being able to restart the match and come back down to the ring.
Yeah.
Like and I'm not saying that what they did was wrong. I'm saying
they were already booing, and they cheered when they restarted the match. So you got the same reaction that you're talking about.
I just think that, we always talk about when it comes to AEW that if we slow certain things down a little bit, it allows you to appreciate them more. And I think that this would have been something where if we slowed it down a little bit more and we actually got the drama of Chris Jericho begging her to restart the match, like, I think that it would have went over better. Still went fine. Still was okay. Very emotional match. The right guy went over. Jericho's career is not over. Congratulations, Chris Jericho. 30 plus years. You're going to keep going. I do like that this is the final match between the two of them. Like 2-3 years down the road, you can go ahead and put them back in a match against each other again. That's fine. But I would really like to see the Inner Circle, who did finally look like a cohesive unit again.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see them completely away from the Pinnacle for the foreseeable future.
I don't think that's going to happen.
You can bring them back together later if you want to, but I think it's time that the Pinnacle starts going after people like Lucha Brothers and Best Friends. I think that it's time that the Inner Circle starts going after people like the Elite. And obviously we're going to have a different story going with the Elite for the foreseeable future. Women's Battle Royal. That's what we didn't talk about.
That and then the Big Show match was
right, yeah, and the Big Show match was exactly what we expected. Paul White ends up beating QT Marshall, the professional bowler of AEW. I expected this match for the Women's Battle Royal to be a standard Battle Royal, and wasn't aware that they were going to do it Royal Rumble style. It did make sense to do it Royal Rumble style, because then you get the surprise of Ruby Soho coming down to the ring. The wrong person went over, in my opinion.
You don't think Ruby Soho should have gone over?
Not in her first match. Because instantly now she gets a title match against Britt Baker. Now, can she win that match? Yeah. Will she? Probably not. But Thunder Rosa has been building up to be Britt Baker's kryptonite, right?
And I'm sure that's still.
And they even made a huge stink about her being that kryptonite on I think it was even Rampage, where all of a sudden like 4 other women came and wanted to beat up Thunder Rosa because they know she's the number 1 contender. So having Thunder Rosa get knocked out of that match by Ruby Soho, the brand new person, when you say that people don't just walk in and get shots in AEW, you just proved that somebody walked in and got a shot in AEW.
But they could turn this to like Thunder Rosa's like, hey, bitch, you just walked in here. You know what I'm saying? That could be something between those two.
I guess, but they're both going to be baby faces currently, right?
You don't know that.
I don't know. I think Ruby's going to be a baby face. I would, I already talked about the QT Marshall match. I'm not going to call him Marshall. I think that's stupid. The main event.
Wait, I'm trying to figure out if we missed something. So we got.
I don't think we did.
We got. We talked about Punk and Allen, the Bucks, Britt, Miro, Jericho, Moxley, Paul Wright, the Women's Battle Royal. They did the Andrade angle where they kind of explained what happened with him and Pac. Yeah, so I guess we are. We're at the main event.
We got 7 minutes to talk about it. We all know that AEW is about to be like 1998 WCW, where it's NWO versus WCW, but NWO versus AEW. Obviously, it's going to be the Elite versus the All Elite, which is just stupid. In fact, I've never actually liked the name All Elite Wrestling. I think that it's a pretty rough name. But
I think, and we'll talk about it we'll talk about why when we get to the remind me when we get to at the end of the match, because I saw body language and I think it might have foreshadowed something. I want to see if you picked up on it too.
I don't even know what you're talking about. So
that's why I said we'll talk about it when we get to the end.
Okay. So the match itself, Christian Cage versus the entire Elite, apparently.
Yeah.
Nobody out there to help Christian Cage.
I was wondering about that too. I'm like, why didn't? Because Jungle Boy, he's been Jurassic Express have been his, I guess, backup. Why didn't they come down?
It always makes me laugh when it comes to the baby faces in AEW because they only seem to be baby faces when they have to be baby faces, and they're not baby faces when they don't need to be. Like, for example, the whole Darby Allin walking slowly down to the ring as CM Punk's being beaten up by 3 guys before his match, and then Sting getting in the ring and being like, "We're not going to let anything happen to you before the match." You just let him get beat down, bitch. Just let it happen. Then Friday night, when you have CM Punk on commentary and he's just standing there like this, and then he's like, should I take my headset off? Should I take my headset off? Okay, he's been beaten up for a good while. Let me go ahead and like these are the baby faces.
Well, I think they're doing that for drama too, because the crowd, when he stood up, the crowd went crazy. I think he was teasing. He's teasing the crowd.
But as you stand up, you go, guys, I gotta go help. And then put the headset down and run, but they don't ever run. So this whole Jurassic Express with Christian Cage thing only seems to be when Jurassic Express needs Christian Cage, not the other way around. Kenny Omega goes over in the match. Solid match, really good match. I mean, Christian Cage legitimately is the Randy Orton of AEW now. He never has a bad match. You take it for granted that he's never going to have a bad match, but you also take it for granted because you're like it's Christian Cage, whatever, and yet you shouldn't be. You should be like, I am watching a man put on a clinic on a weekly basis on AEW programming, similar to what Kenny Omega does, and yet Kenny Omega is looked at as 6-star match from Dave Meltzer, whereas Christian Cage, he's got a 4-star match at best. He's got a hard on. What's that?
He's got a hard on for Omega for some reason.
He does. He does. So, but they put on a clinic. They put on a great match. It really went over well. Obviously, all the distractions and everything else caused Kenny Omega to get the win with a top rope one-winged angel, which
made me nervous.
Which looked like it was going to be a terrible top rope unprettier / kill switch.
Yeah.
And then we get the after show beatdown on Christian, which causes Jurassic Express to run down to try to help make the save. They all get beat down as well because the rest of the Elite comes down. And then, of course, Kenny Omega sits there and says, I guess it just goes to show, guys, that anybody that would really have a chance of beating me either doesn't work here, is retired, or they're dead. And I don't know if the dead statement should have been made knowing the Daphne thing happened just, 72 hours before that.
But I think I know what they were going for.
Well, I mean, they're going for
they killed off Adam Cole. Remember that? They're doing the seance. I think that's what they were going for.
Yeah, because they even tease, all of a sudden you have the Adam Cole's music start. And unfortunately, this is where the Undisputed Era music was perfect for him. It had that specific moment where you knew he was going to put those hands up and you were going to go Adam Cole, baby, right? His new music hits, and I can't tell what it's saying, what's going on in it, whatever. I just see the big Adam Cole thing come up, and Adam Cole walks out when we thought we were going to see Bryan Danielson walk out. Adam Cole gets into the ring. Anybody that watches Being the Elite knows that when Adam Cole signed with the WWE 5 years ago or whatever, Adam Cole flat out was killed off on being the Elite. So they totally told the storyline, obviously, because Adam Cole comes out and he says, "Who's ready for story time with Adam Cole?"
Well, when he first got him, he was like, "You remember what you did to me," because that's when they thought that he was about to turn on Kenny Omega, and then he just kicks the shit out of Jungle Boy.
Yeah. And then of course, Kenny Omega sits there and he says, "Did you really think that this guy's one of my best friends? Did you really think that he was going to be against us?"
Stop. And this is where the body language came in. So if you notice that when he said that, Adam Cole never went to him to say whatever. And he also stood in front of Omega and did this, and the Young Bucks kissed him on the cheek. I'm wondering if
Omega kissed him on the top of the head.
Yeah, but I'm wondering if Adam Cole is going to take over and they're going to kick Omega out.
Anything is possible.
And I also thought they were going to kick the Young Bucks out when they lost the belts.
But we're definitely. I don't see any of that. But I do see tension grows over time because Adam Cole is that damn good, and he's not able to go after the world title because Kenny has it, right? So, I see that kind of build happening. But before we get there, Kenny says, "I bid you adieu and a good night." And as soon as he says good night, Flight of the Valkyries starts up, and halfway through Flight of the Valkyries, they completely changed the music on us.
I loved it. I love that new remix they did to it. I loved it.
I wonder if it's going to continue to be that whole song, or if his new song is what you heard after the Flight of the Valkyries.
Because they probably the flight, so it was him coming out. But I think they might keep it because I don't think WWE.
It went over so well. It went over so well so Daniel Bryan comes out. Bryan Danielson, sorry. Like I said, I'm going to make that mistake a lot. Bryan Danielson comes out, slides into the ring, checks on Jungle Boy, and then immediately looks at the heels, and the heels, like Kenny Omega, dumps out of the ring, and they all kind of just let him in there.
And let them in there with the Young Bucks. You notice they sacrificed the Young Bucks.
Well, they sacrificed, I think, Matt Jackson.
Yeah.
Like there was only one of them in the ring by the end, but it's not a PC song.
What?
I mean, it is a public domain song, so that's
I don't think WWE owns it. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then they happen to have another beatdown at the end of the thing where all the baby faces send the crowd home happy, which is the way that it's supposed to be. Normally that's done off TV, but they wanted to send everybody home happy from the pay-per-view. After the show goes off the air, Tino, Bryan Danielson grabs the microphone and says, how many of you are happy to see me here because I want to tell you why I came to All Elite Wrestling?
Oh, I didn't hear this part. Yeah, I want to hear this.
And he says the first thing is, he said there were three things, and I remember two of them off the top of my head. He started by saying, "This is going to upset a lot of people with me and how I start saying this. I loved where I used to work." So completely opposite of what CM Punk said when CM Punk walked out. He said, "I loved where I used to work." Not everybody says that. Most of the people that are here can't say that. Now I remember all three things that he said. He said, but the first reason why I wanted to be here was for guys like these guys. And he's talking about Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. And he's like, I'm standing in a ring with Christian Cage, who is not an OG All Elite guy. And I'm standing here with these two OGs who have been here since day one. And I want to let you guys know that I respect the shit out of you. Like I respect you guys so much for what you've done. Guys like me, guys like Punk, guys like Ruby Soho, like we have to give it to you OGs, like guys like Chris Jericho and guys like, that really came in day one, without ever saying anything about the Elite because they're the heels, right? So he sits there, he says all that, and he's talking nice about them. He goes, the second reason that I wanted to be here, I was just talking about wrestlers, and I am a wrestler. And he gets so loud, and the crowd starts to. In fact, when he started, the crowd starts chanting "Talk forever," and he goes, "I will not talk forever." And he almost cuts like a heel promo. He's like, in fact, every single one of you that's chanting that right now, I am going to come into that crowd and I'm going to punch each of you in the face. And he goes, no, not really, but so he cut a heel promo on them in the middle of his promo. But then he says, he wants to be a wrestler. He's going to get to be a wrestler. And then, of course, he thanked the fans, and he said, I cannot believe. And Chris Jericho is a WWE OG, but he also is an AEW OG because he did show up day one at that press conference in January of 2019. So he is most definitely, or 2018, he is most definitely OG when it comes to AEW because he's the guy that made people think that it was a legitimate company.
Yes.
So, and Daniel Bryan, when he's talking about Christian, he's talking about himself, he's talking about CM Punk, he talks about Paul White, he talks about Mark Henry, he says, all those guys saw what was coming from this company and we wanted to be a part of it. So we want to be a part. We do not want to be more or different than anybody else. We want to be a part of it. And then he said, the fans themselves, he said, you guys gave every single match the same amount of love through the entire thing, and I want to be a part of that. And like he couldn't have said it any better. And then at the end he sat there, went up to the ropes, and he didn't really do this. He just kept going as everybody else was doing it, because as we all know, when you leave WWE, even though WWE doesn't own the Yes Movement, you don't really want to keep the same things.
And that's what Jericho was saying too.
Evolve. You want to change. You want to, and so they he did a brood head bob, as Chris Bear just said.
And I like that. I think he's going to let his hair grow out. You saw the little man bun he had on top of his head with the ponytail. So I think he's going to let his hair grow.
If I were to see him, I would cut that off. I would walk right up. I'd be like, Bryan Danielson, can I get a picture? And I'd be like, snip.
Would you cut Brock Lesnar's off his head too?
Oh yes.
No, you wouldn't. You do it and run.
You have to run, and you probably still catch me.
Yep.
All right, Tino. I really don't have anything left for the rest of tonight. If you've got anything that you want to bring up, please do. The pay-per-view, they really did go all out. They really left nothing on the table. The only two things that I criticized I guess I criticized the CM Punk match because it was slow. But again, I think it was a protecting match. I think that they knew that
American
shush you.
It was still a good match, but it was still an excellent match.
Exactly. And I think that they could have waited with Adam Cole. I think that they could have brought him out Wednesday night, like maybe have the baby faces beating down the Elite and then have Adam Cole run out, make it look like he's going to join the baby faces, and then he joins the Elite then and starts beating down the baby faces. I think that would have been another one of those surprises that we would have hoped for and seen, but instead they did it all at once.
And something else that they didn't touch on in the pay-per-view that happened last week on Dynamite. The fuck is up with Billy Gunn hitting Paul White with a fucking chair from behind?
I think what we saw was that the Guns are hired guns, if you will, and because of that, like QT gave I guess gave them free passes to bowling, maybe some bowling shoes, like coupons. I don't know, but I'll tell you what, Billy Gunn is still a monster, dude.
Yeah, he is.
His kids can't wrestle worth a damn, but
well, neither can baby fat Anderson, but the skinny fat Anderson. I'm sorry, but I got you. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in to the show.
Give a like.
Give a like, thumbs up, buy the t-shirt, and tell all your friends. You can catch this fool on the Twitter. He's Rob Potcheck.
Potcheck on Twitter.
I get them all confused. You got so many. He's Potcheck on the Twitter machine. I am Hootie Fan 91 on Insta. He is Rob Potcheck. I am SC Tino. You can catch this fool on what's your TikTok? Is it Rob? It's Rob Potsy Potcheck on the TikTok.
Rob Potsy Potcheck on TikTok.
And you can check us out on Facebook. It's the Potsy and Tino Show. On Twitter, it's Potsy and Tino. As always, you're checking us out on YouTube, so you know where to find us each and every Monday night from 8 to 10. And as always, we want to say thank you to Adam's House Cat for the wrestling song. You can check them out on iTunes for 99 cents. And that's it, my friend. Until next week, we hear Ric Flair, and he is saying, woo!
He's saying, pay me.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Woo!